Boom, there it is, ladies and gentlemen. All right, today you're a startup and you want to get found online. How do you do that? That has to do with search engine optimization, and we're going to talk about that in today's episode. So let's get this one started. Here we go.
Shut up and sit down.
Look, a business can give you everything you want in life: prestige, wealth, freedom. It can also take everything away from you. This show is for those who are willing to take that risk. These are the real life stories of entrepreneurs. But before we start, I have one small favor to ask. Please leave a comment. It can be advice, critiques, tips, feedback, or share this with someone because your engagement is the most valuable and most powerful form of social currency. So thank you, and welcome to another episode of Business Buzz! Are you a startup founder struggling to acquire customers with a limited marketing budget? You want to scale your business without breaking the bank? Well, look no further, because today we have a special guest who can help you with just that. Our guest is an experienced startup operator who knows the ins and outs of customer acquisition and growth strategies. She has worked with numerous startups, helping them achieve organic growth and sustainable traffic through proven SEO and content marketing strategies. Today, she's here to share her insight and tips to help you take your startup to the next level. So let's welcome to the show, Miss Adriana Herrera. All right, let's do this thing. Startup entrepreneurs. Adriana, welcome to the show. What do you think about this whole startup space?
Well, first, thanks for having me. Secondly, love the startup space. I've been in startups for the better part of 11 years now. Never did I think I'd get into the world of startups. I'm not just a startup operator, but also a startup founder myself. I've built venture-backed tech companies from the ground up. I've gone through 2 tech accelerators, including the number 2 tech accelerator in the nation. I have written on a column on the New York Times about building startups. So you can say I really love the space and know the ins and outs, the goods, the bads, the challenges, and then what it's like to have success at the same time.
I think the startup phase is probably the most exciting. It's when you have that idea that pops into your mind. You're like, whoa, you can't get it out of your head. You try to go to sleep at night. It's still there. You're dreaming about it. You wake up, you're eating breakfast. It's there. It's there. It's there. And you got to bring it to fruition. But what happens oftentimes, 2 things. One is we go tell the people we care about the most about this idea, and they kind of start to poke holes in our confidence and what we think can possibly happen. And you either don't start it, or 2, you start it and then you realize, okay, there's going to be some budgeting issues here. How do I get my message out to the public? And I kind of want to focus on that aspect of it. If you have a startup with a small marketing budget, what are some of the challenges they're going to face when it comes to the very first and probably the most important thing a business has, which is acquiring customers?
Yeah, so when you're getting started, you have this idea and you might have assumptions, and really all you have is assumptions when you're getting started because nothing has been proven out. And that's the largest challenge, is being able to take those assumptions and implement a process that actually takes you through assumption to proof. And so there's been lots of times where you might think you know what your target customer persona profile looks like, and it ends up being something totally different. Not just that, but it's once you actually have an idea of who this customer is, figuring out how to find them and bring them into your business sustainably over time in a cost efficient way, rather than having to pump in tens and thousands of dollars and not seeing that ROI that you want. So it can be very twofold. Is one, you got to know who your customer is, and then you have to know where they are online.
There's always multiple aspects. And when it comes to online, I think the place where I heard it best described was in Russell Brunson's book. He's a ClickFunnels guy, right? And he said there's 3 types of traffic that you have. There's traffic that you pay for, which is on paid ads. There's organic traffic, which is when you're creating content on a regular basis and people are finding you. And then there's traffic that you own once you have name, email, and phone number. And these are things that you can continuously market to. You're kind of coming at this angle from the SEO standpoint for startups. So let's kind of break that down. What is SEO for startups anyways? And how can they use that to get what they're looking for to acquire those customers?
Absolutely. So, SEO, just in general, search engine optimization. It's basically, we've all done it every single day on Google. There's over 8.5 billion searches where you're going and you're looking for something that you have intent for. When Google renders a page, there are different placements. Wherever those organic placements, meaning placements that are not being paid for, that's search engine optimization. Where I look at it from having been a startup operator, having worked in PR, getting tens of millions of content placed in the top media publications around the world, as well as looking at sustainable traffic, I've developed something called Zero to Hero SEO optimization, where you're really focusing on rankable keywords and doing something that most people forget to do up front, which is you have to tell Google what your site is about. And basically, it's our responsibility as entrepreneurs, in order to get the customers that we want, to train Google by putting in the work to give the signals to Google to help us rank for the terms that we want and to be able to be found when one of those 8.5 billion searches has to do something with our business.
That search has kind of shifted a little bit in the last, I want to say since about November with the launch of OpenAI and things like ChatGPT. The way I feel people are going to be looking for things is kind of shifting. But I think with a lot of the strategies that you're kind of talking about here, it'll really help prepare a business for being found, whether people are going the AI route or looking for a direct solution or going the Google route. And like, let me explain, for example, right now, when you talked about when people are looking for something, traditionally we've been going, well, actually traditionally, it's only been a few decades, but still traditionally we go to Google and we enter something that we're looking for. Google gives us search results and we kind of sift through there. The way things are changing with AI, I ask AI a question, it's going to give me an answer. It's not really going to give me options of answers. It's going to give me an answer. How do you think SEO and creating content, having a good content strategy can help as we make that shift into a new AI search world versus our traditional Google search world?
So I don't think this shift is actually going to be as adopted widely by everyone. So when we look at AI, there's still a large portion of the online demographics that doesn't even know what AI stands for, artificial intelligence. They're not going to the chat AI bots or any of those to get those answers. So when we're looking at the behavior that has been adopted over time. I have a background in behavioral psychology. So when we're looking at also bringing in customers, we want to go to the channels where people already have the behaviors adopted. Yes, there is going to be a subset. They're going to be the techies. They're going to be the early adopters. They're going to be the people like us. But it's not going to be your, general, your consumer, your auntie, your tia, who are going to the AI to look for answers. And on top of it, there has been a lot of misinformation through those chat bots. Basically, the way that they're being trained, they're not. They don't have the algorithms really behind them to be able to render different types of information that can also be the correct type of information. So that whole subset, I think, is really still going to be developing, but I think it is going to be a niche demographic that is using that. And if you are a business that has that type of niche demographic, I think it's definitely important to build a strategy around that. But when you are a startup and you have limited time, you have limited resources, going to the channels where people are already have the behaviors, they're already searching, and it's going to continue to grow. That's really where a new business should be focusing, rather than looking at channels that are perhaps emerging, developing, or very niche for a very specific type of audience.
That's very true. It is a tomorrow issue, and today we're looking for results, right? So
Right.
let's talk about some of today's strategies. One of them being creating content, whether it's on a podcast, whether it's creating short clips for social media, whether it's creating blogs or whatever type of content strategy we're talking about. These are the things that startups can use to drive traffic and then eventually acquire customers. So what are some of the content strategies that startups can use right now that are most cost effective to them so that they can drive that traffic that they need?
Yeah, absolutely. So, one of the easiest things that someone can do is create a beautiful piece of content that Google deems as helpful to a very specific keyword and or topic. So, one of my things that I love very specifically about blogs and articles is that I've been able to grow sites from 103 visitors per year to 241,000 visitors per year, publishing only 2 blog articles per month. This isn't having to post on social media every day. This isn't having to do tons of videos with lots of editing. It's creating one very focused and strategic um, piece of content. And that the word strategic is really important because there is this idea, especially in the startup world, and I've even had mentors. I've heard mentors tell this to other people: is be posting every day, write on your blog every day, create content every day. And that, in my mind, is a waste of energy because you could be strategic about creating content, about optimizing content, about being found in SERP, and not have to be putting in that same amount of energy. For example, I've been able to create like one piece of content around one keyword and generate 9,400 visitors per month off of one piece of content. So when I'm looking at posting on social, well, you have to build your following. You have to see if they're engaging. They're not necessarily looking for what it is that you're promoting or talking about that day. But when you're looking again at Google, people are going looking with the intent. And I think that's really important. When you're creating content, you have to think about the intent behind what you're doing and who is looking to actually find it, and look at the different levels of the customer journey. So within the customer journey, again, being very strategic, you have people who are looking for just general information on what you have to offer. You have people who are looking for to make a decision on what you have to offer. And then you have the people who are looking to make a transaction on what you have to offer. And all of those different types of content um, need to be really focused to meet that mindset. Um, so that's just really like when you're looking at content, I really love the articles, the blogs, and also looking at how you can enter multimedia. Just because you create a blog doesn't mean that you can even not put in a video, or you can't put in multimedia images or infographics and anything to take your blog to that next level.
What are some of the common mistakes that people make when it comes to creating content for SEO? And I as you're describing the types of content you want to make, I like the idea of being strategic, but I feel not everybody knows what that means, right? Or what it means
Yeah.
specifically to their vertical or their industry. So as you work with people in this SEO space, what are some of those mistakes that you see happen where maybe they think they're being strategic, they just don't know any better?
Right. So one of the biggest mistakes that I see, I would say probably about 35% of the startups and clients that I talk to, it's not having the fundamentals in place. So when you're building a new website, there are certain fundamentals to have in place in order to be able to say, "Hey Google, we're here, we're new, this is what we're about." And very specifically, having a backslash about page. I would say 30 to 35% of the companies that I talk to do not have an about page. When Google is going around and crawling the internet and indexing sites, if there is no about page, you're getting skipped. Google doesn't know effectively what you're about. So, a very easy thing to fix for any company is to make sure that your about page has, at least 1,000 words. It very specifically describes who you are, what you offer, to who you offer, and has sprinklings of keywords that you want Google to be able to find you for. Secondarily, Google has these wonderful tools, suite of tools that they provide to us to help them index, find the best content, and render that on to the search engines. But most people don't take advantage of that. So if you're a startup with a limited budget, one of the best things you can do is create a Google Search Console account completely free. Whenever you publish new content, whether it's about page, whether it is within your blog, you create that page, you go to your Google Search Console, you put the link in, you do a little test to make sure your page doesn't have any structural errors in it. And if it has the green light, then you hit request index. That takes you from whatever millionth place you might be in line for Google to come back and crawl your site, and puts you in a queue where Google says, hey, this site has new content for us. We're going to go and index it because we want all of the freshest content online. So the two biggest mistakes that I see is not having fundamentals in place, which are, again, like not having a simple about page, to also not using the tools that are available to us that are completely free to help Google help you.
As a marketer, part of the things that I really like to do is create individual landing pages for different campaigns or different products that are out there. And it's different than having a website. I know traditionally a website you would go to, you'd have your home, your about, a bunch of different tabs that are on there. But with today's ease of creating landing pages, you're getting less and less of that. When you're in the startup phase and you're trying to acquire a customer and you're creating some of these landing pages versus websites, can they still have some of those fundamentals built in while they're kind of creating different landing pages, different URLs, and still trying to create content at scale? Or should they stick to a traditional model?
Yeah, no, landing pages are great. I am a big fan of landing pages. I use them all the time. But it's also looking at the structure of the landing pages, right? There's all these different tools that are available that help you create landing pages. My preference is to be able to create landing pages within my own domain, because then again, that is telling Google what this site is about. And it's providing segmented information to Google about what it is that you're offering, and perhaps a specific niche that you're offering to someone. So for me, my preference is always to, like, yes, use best practices from tools that are out and about, but also to take that in-house and build it within my own domain. But then leveraging the benefits of landing pages to create conversions. I also like doing things in house myself because it gives me the ease to do things faster. I'm also technical, so I don't necessarily need the drag and drop tools, but those can be beneficial. But there's also, if you just take the time, maybe half a day, to learn some just very key fundamentals of technicalities, you can be able to do so much more within your own landing page, within your own site, and also help that increase your rankings and have Google find you. Because when you're using another domain, or like a subdomain of another domain that has your brand, you're giving that company the SEO juice essentially, versus bringing that back into your own home and your own domain. It's like sending traffic across the street versus bringing it into your house.
Keep the power in house. I like that. So use your own domain. And I've been doing that. I use businessbros.biz / whatever it is that I'm going to put on that particular landing page. And I agree with you. It's definitely been helping. Now, if you Google our name, we own like 5 or 6 pages of Google search results, which is amazing, but it happened over time. How about, let's identify like our target audience. When you're talking to a startup, you said early on, they may have an idea of who their audience is, but that might change over time. How do you create content that resonates with them so that the traffic goes in your direction and your messaging, your branding, your content is all on point?
Great question. So, one of the things when you're building your startup or your business, you have an idea of what your offering is and who is going to buy that. So, even before you start creating content, take the time to be strategic. Really map out who you think this person is, from their age, where they are, what their profession is, how much they might have to spend on what you have to offer. Really build out that customer persona. Then what you want to do is start brainstorming ideas of questions that they might have, things that they're searching for online. Once you do that, take those ideas, pump them into a tool like Google Keyword Planner, and see how many searches those topics actually have. That will tell you not only do you actually have a customer base, but are you going to be able to build a business that's going to be profitable? Because if you only have 20 people searching for what you have to offer per month versus 500,000 people, that's a huge difference. So looking at that fundamental aspect, and then once you're like, okay, great, there are people searching for what I have to offer, there's some keywords here, let me start taking these keywords and targeting them. And starting to build content around them, and then thinking about what does that content look like, what is my minimum viable product, my MVP for this content, to be able to get something up, start getting indexed, start training the Google algorithm about what I have to offer, and then go back and iterate on top of that. That's also one of the things I love about articles, I love about blogs. Unlike a social media post or a video, you can't go back and add more content to an edited video. But to a blog, you can always be changing it. You can always be updating it. It's a very malleable to you and flexible. So then create that, and then look at what your traffic is, and build a feedback loop. If there's no customer chat on there, you're missing opportunities to see, who your customer is and what they have to offer. I'm always chatting with customers online, through the startups that I'm building, and saying, how did you find us today? What's the biggest problem you're looking for? How can we help you? And just asking those questions and having that one-on-one, but through chat, will give you so much information and also validate this customer persona. Then once you start having this idea of who your top 2 or 3 customer personas are, one thing that I love to do, and is a big hack that I've been able to use to be successful, is to then leverage media and PR, and get different stories out to very specific types of media outlets to be able to test the value of those different segmented customers. So I'll give you an example. When I was building my first startup, it was a marketplace for sustainable and fairly made products, very specifically apparel. So basically, it's get the high fashion that you wanted, but it was good for the people, good for the earth. And we had a very succinct assumptions on who our customers were. And then we started using the chats and started finding that there were women from financial backgrounds that were coming to our site. And these were like financial planners, they were investors. And we're like, okay, well, that's really interesting. That's not a segment that we thought. We thought we were going to be more younger, skewing towards college, people who are just, passionate and not jaded yet. So then we took that information and started targeting media outlets towards women in finance. And once we did that, we started creating this beautiful channel of not just brand awareness, but to be able to drive traffic back to our site that converted. So our average purchase on average was around $82 for the first purchase, just across all customer segments. But for the women in finance, it was around 140. So when we were able to go through that whole process, listen to the customers, extract that quantitative and qualitative information, we were then able to use media, test that, and then that just became part of our strategy. Is every month we were reaching out to media sites that were really targeting this higher value customer persona. So it's really being very strategic and very methodic. And it can sound overwhelming. It's like, oh my gosh, that's so much to do. But I have a philosophy of go slow to go fast. Once you have your fundamentals in place, once you do this strategy and you learn through the strategy, you're going to be that much better off down the road. Because if you're trying to take shortcuts and skip these fundamental steps, you're going to shoot yourself in the foot, because you're just kind of like shooting around trying to figure out, oh, that's a really bad analogy, I hate using those words, sorry about that, but you're just trying to like dump things in different buckets, and it's you're not really getting to where you want to go.
No, it does make a big difference. And yeah, sometimes you do shoot yourself in the foot. Sometimes you think you're doing all the right things and you still shoot yourself in the foot. That just happens when you're creating some content every once in a while. And as far as like creating that customer avatar, I also found it's fun and kind of helpful to use characters that you see on your favorite sitcoms and TV shows. Oftentimes they have very research personality traits that you can kind of mold in the direction that you're looking for. And like, the idea really for me is once you know the character that, or the avatar that you're going after, creating content for that person makes it a lot easier because you know what they're going to interact like. So sometimes using some of these characters might help a little bit. What about the metrics, right? So when a startup is getting started, they don't know what they don't know, and you want to make sure that they're tracking the right stuff on a regular basis. Sometimes they're going to go after the follower count, sometimes they're going to go after the view count, when those things don't really equate to conversion that you're actually looking for, the dollars that are coming into your account. So what are some of the metrics that startups should be looking for when creating their content, and how long should they be looking at that data? Because on a social media post, it's like, within the first few hours it's there and then it's gone, versus like you said, a blog could be there for a long time.
Love this question. I'm always in the data all day, every day. Google Analytics, Google Search Console, and my number of different tools that I have. I have my analytics stack. And with SEO, unlike the social media posts, like you pointed out, that is going to have a short shelf life, SEO grows over time. You increase your ranking over time. So the number one metric you should be looking at day over day for the pieces of content that you're creating that are blog article focused, or even your pages, your landing pages, is your ranking within Google, and then also your click-through rates. And so like that top SERP placement with the featured snippets, that has like a 21% click-through rate. That's amazing traffic day in, day out, especially if you have a search word, a keyword that has high search volume, I should say. So seeing where you're ranking, seeing your click-through rate, and then once you have people coming to your site, looking at things like bounce rate. Bounce rate's going to tell you people are not finding what they thought they were going to find, and Google is going to start taking you down. Also, the engagement rate, time on page. How many times does someone come back to the content that you've created? I have pieces of content that I've created that have on average 56 a person returns to that piece of content 56 times. That's astronomical. That's something that Google deems as helpful content, and ranks it above even legacy companies that have .gov, .edu, companies that have been around for 20, 30 years and that have the tens of millions of dollars in marketing spend. And these new pieces of content are able to outrank them and to attract those customers that would otherwise go other places. So looking at those fundamentals, just very simply your ranking, your click-through rates, your bounce rates, your engagement rates, and then how much people are coming back. And then also what I like to look at over time is how much am I saving? And this is something that's very interesting for startups that are either looking to get investment or looking to quantify the value of the work that they're doing to their board of directors, their investors. So I have pieces of content that I had mentioned, have 9,400 monthly visitors. And when I look at what the CPC for that would be per month, it's about $23,000 that I'm saving in click spend. When I'm looking at over the year, that's over $220,000 that I'm saving. So that's something that I love to look and quantify, because when you're working with venture-backed companies, again, where it's saying, hey, I want to raise some money, this is the type of traffic I can bring in, this is what the value is that I'm saving, let's pump some more money into our SEO strategy, grow out our content, and be able to efficiently, organically drive sustainable traffic rather than having to spend this money in SEM.
And that's the big difference, right? That's really what it comes down to when you're building that organic content, is you're driving traffic without paying for it. You're turning organic traffic into traffic you own, which you can remarket to, which you can re-extract cash from on a consistent basis. That's where the business is really at. If you can turn them into even subscription-based models, you're even way further ahead of the game than anybody else. Adriana, you've been super helpful on today's episode. I mean, shared a lot of information for startups to help get them structured and set up to create content to grow their business at scale at very minimal to zero cost, which is super awesome. So if people want to reach out, they want to find out more about what you do or work with you, how can they do that? And of course, any final thoughts you have?
Yeah, so I can easily be reached at tapaloha.com, or on my email, which is just adriana@tapaloha.com. And just final thoughts is when you are building your business, it is not easy. And I really do encourage go slow to go fast, be strategic, be methodical, and also don't give in to the hype and start getting the FOMO of I have to be doing all of these new things that are coming out. I have to be doing all of the AI stuff. I should be creating AI content. No. Do two things max as a startup. Do them exceptionally. Build your foundation, and that is going to get you the traffic, the data, the ability to iterate, and the ability to grow in a sustainable way, to be able to prove out your business and to also start to grow it in a meaningful way. So I think as entrepreneurs that FOMO can get to us, that we should need to be doing all these different things. And in reality, play to your strengths, play to what you know. And if there is something that you're like, I really should be doing that, but I don't know, don't be afraid to ask others. Don't be afraid to reach out to some of the best people in the industry and be like, hey, can I take you for coffee 15 minutes? Can I hop on a Zoom 15 minutes? I have this one very specific question, and build a relationship, build mentorship to help you be able to grow. You can't do it alone as an island. You got to have that knowledge share.
It's definitely a team effort. That's the way most businesses are built. And just so you guys know, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, you can build a business by yourself. That's just, in my opinion, it becomes owning a job. If you want to build a true business, you need team players and you need experts on your team, people who understand some of the stuff. If you're a startup and again, you don't know what this stuff is, it's like, you're supposed to do it, but you need help. You guys can go to tapaloha.com, reach out to Adriana and start talking about, hey, I heard everything you said. I may not know anything you were talking about, but I know I need this kind of help. So Adriana's there to help you out, help you guys do that. One more question I got for you, Adriana, because we love our video testimonials. We're in the business of creating short clips for social media, but we do that by creating long form content. So what was your experience like creating content with us on the Business Bros today?
Creating content with you guys on Business Bros today has been fun. It's been engaging, great dialogue, and something that has lots of takeaways, I'm sure, for the audience to be able to actually implement in their businesses.
Well, you make it easy for sure. So thank you for coming on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, one more time, her website scrolling across the bottom, but in case you're audio only, it's tapaloha.com, which I'm assuming is a cool play because it's hello and goodbye. So that's pretty cool, right?
You got it. Exactly. You got it. Exactly. Mm-hmm.
There you go. Hello and goodbye. So tapaloha.com. Make sure you guys reach out to Adriana. Thank you very much for coming on the show today. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace. And we're out.
It's over. Go home.
Is your business in need of marketing? Try starting a podcast, but not just any podcast. Podcast like a pro. We can show you how to take your business from being invisible to becoming a brand people trust. Go to www.businessbros.biz